Okay, so today I thought I'd say a few words um, about surrender, the practice of surrender, both in mindfulness practice and kind of more general spiritual practice. So one of the teachers that I spent a little bit of time with years ago was Ramesh Balsekar. So he was the translator of Nisargadatta Maharaj. And I think his style was slightly different, but he communicated the same message. And one of his kind of main teachings was that there is no individual doer. There's no one that does anything. Instead, everything just happens. Okay, which is if you've spent years striving away in meditation and just generally in life trying to, get stuff done, all that personal striving, the whole of the self-help industry is based on that. To hear that actually you're not doing anything, life is just happening, the flow is happening, the universe is happening, consciousness is happening, it can be a huge relief, and it was for me. It was a huge relief to be told that this is just consciousness happening. There's no personal Mike, no real locatable, genuine Mike. It's just a flow. It's just an expression of consciousness. And so, that understanding soaked into me fairly deeply. Both as an understanding, a new way to kind of recalibrate my daily life and my spiritual practice, how I understood myself, but also in real ways, kind of actually soaking through more to the bones of myself. And I'd have experiences where, there would be nobody here. There's just no one. There's just the kind of raw flow of life happening. Which was very liberating, often terrifying, but also equally liberating. I remember having just come back from seeing Ramesh in Mumbai in about 2005 or 6, and I was studying in a very small Welsh town, Lampeter, and I remember I've just got back from India. I'm still in that kind of India mode. My clothes are extravagant. I smell of patchouli oil, etc. I've got a big beard, and I'm walking down the street of this small Welsh town where I'm studying, and at the other end of the street, outside of the shop, are some skinheads. They've just come out of the pub, and they're big guys, and they're big Welsh guys, no nonsense, and they're just having a chat, but they're right in my way. And I'm walking towards them, and suddenly I feel so incredibly self-conscious. I'm just this idiot that's now walking towards these people. And there's a contraction, and there's a bit of fear and doubt, and I'm thinking, oh God, I don't want to be an object of attention. I don't want to be ridiculed. I certainly don't want to be, I don't want people to be aggressive towards me, and all this kind of fearful thinking was spinning out in my head. And I thought, well, I can just cross the road. I can avoid that situation entirely. I can just cross the road. And then I thought, oh, hang on. I'm not doing anything. They're not doing anything. Nobody does anything. This is just consciousness happening. And in fact, I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. And actually, we never ever know what the next moment's going to contain. We've never known that. Never in our lives have we been 100% sure, I know exactly what the next moment will be, my next thought, my next sensation, my next reaction, we don't know, because it's not happened yet. And that's an amazing place to live, because you're living right on the edge. You are living on the edge of that wave. That's where your life is. That's where life happens, on the edge. Being completely open to the very next instant of experience, good, bad, or ugly. So I thought, well, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe I'll smile at them and they'll smile back. That's okay. Maybe we'll go down the pub and have a drink and talk about our lives. Maybe they'll beat the crap out of me. Maybe I'll beat the crap out of them. I'm not a violent person at all, but that's an option. That's certainly an option. So I just left it completely open. I have no idea what will happen, so let's see. So suddenly I'm walking down the street and that contraction melts away and I feel invincible. I feel focused, I feel relaxed in my own skin, and I feel extremely welcoming of whatever's going to happen, because whatever's going to happen is just going to happen. And I'm just going to deal with it. And then the next thing is going to happen, and then I'm going to deal with that. And so what did happen? Well, nothing much. I think I walked past them, I made eye contact with them because I was feeling okay and safe. I think they smiled or nodded, so there was a response. There was an actual acknowledgement, and I just walked away. So that's the benefit of beginning to understand and see that there's nobody here. When there's nobody here, everything just flows. Everything just flows the way it does. Problems fall away. A problem is a kind of it's a mental construct. It's an object. It's a knot. It's a stuckness in the flow of things. In the flow of my life, now here's a problem. What do I do with it? Well, in mindfulness, in Zen, and for myself, we just let the problem happen, because actually the problem isn't what we think. The problem isn't some solid object that's not going to go away until we personally look at it or fix it. It takes a whole universe to create a problem. So you can choose one problem in your life and you are not solely responsible for that problem. Let's say it's something going on at work, for instance, well, there's at least 10 versions of that problem, 10 people, 10 versions. There's 10 lives impacting on that problem. There's 10, different kinds of conditioning, mental, emotional, physical, cultural, impacting on that conditioning. There's world events, even if it doesn't seem like it's connected, it's all connected. Someone reads a news report that morning of a tragedy, it touches them, they change their mind about something. They lighten up around something, So problems aren't really problems, When we see things as stuck, we tend to panic. We want to get this unstuck. We want to, attack this problem. And we can do that. We can do that. And through things like mindfulness, of course, you think more clearly and you're at least able to stay more focused with the problem, But you can also just let it go. You just let problems be problems. And what you find is that no problem really stays a problem for long, because nothing gets stuck for long, because the universe does not get stuck. The human body, brain, mind does not get stuck. It's all flow. I love that in Buddhism, when you achieve a kind of awakening, they call it stream entry. Stream entry. Entry into the stream, into the flow of things. No longer are you conceiving of yourself as an individual, discrete self that lives in here, trying to control everything. Now that is impossible. You know it, I know it. We try and do it. We try and have positive thoughts. We assume at some point that I must be in control of my mind. So why can't I get it to do what I want it to do? What's wrong with me? No, you're not in control. There is no you in control of your thoughts. There's just thinking happening. Why can't I stay positive in my emotions? Why can't I ward off the fear and the anxiety and the doubt? Well, because again, you're not in control. There's just emotion. It's a flow. There's a flow of emotion in the body. Why won't my body do what I want it to do? Why can't I only produce happy, nice, pleasant sensations? Again, there's no you running the show. It's a myth. It's an urban myth, the me. No one's ever found one. You can check, you can Google the relationship between no self and science. The scientists know there's no central self doing this. But there's a doing happening, isn't there? There's this experience happening freely. So this is consciousness happening, this is awareness happening, this is life happening. There's no individual running the show. It's much like a wave being born out of the ocean and at some point sinking back into the ocean. And that wave you can think of as your human life, born from the ocean, made of water, disappearing back into water. The whole time it's made of water. It's not separate at all. It's the ocean waving, But also thoughts is ripples. Emotions, ripple. Sensations in your body, ripples. Sounds, people, events, circumstances, ripples, ripples, ripples. Flow. There's just flow. It's impersonal flow. It's impersonal. And yet how incredible, how miraculous that it feels so deliciously like me. So, that's a problem at first when you think, oh, it's just me. But when you realize the ocean is appearing as the wave, the universe is appearing as you, God, awareness, consciousness is expressing right now, bang, bang, as this, then there's the joy, there's the lightness, there's the freedom, there's the play, the freedom of not being in control. Before I had this kind of shift, I was very afraid of awakening. I would think, well, what happens if you awaken? You kind of lose your bearings. Because I'd met people that had had moments where they really felt like they'd lost their mind. And I thought, well, would I just kind of jump out of a window or something? I don't know. So a bit small, and I think we're a bit wary. Lose the mind, kill the ego. We hear this stuff and we think, okay, well, what's left? Well, this is what's left. This is the experience of being out of control right now. This is what being out of control looks like and feels like. This is it. It's the same. It's the same because there's never been a you in control. So it looks like this. You don't start, ripping off your clothes and tearing your hair out. It's just this. It's what we've always known. I mean, that's the joke of it. It's what we've always known. It's so obvious that it's boring. It's boring. That the universe is appearing as you. That you get to be the universe. So this idea of surrender isn't a kind of passive thing at all. It's not a kind of weak-willed thing to do. Surrender, give up. It's a giving over. It's a handing over. Okay? Because you are not that small self. You didn't make yourself. So what did? Something much greater. Let's call it the ocean, of which you are just a transient wave, and of which all of your experience right now are ripples within that wave. So we hand it over, we give over. Okay, I'm just a wave. Not my will, but thy will. Not what I want, but what it wants, God wants, awareness wants, the universe wants, the world wants. And what does it want? Well, it wants you to know what you are and what you're not, and then serve and help and wake up everybody. Live a joyful life, a joyful human life. That's what it wants. So you can try, surrendering. It doesn't have to be this kind of great, not my will but thy will, although it can be. But it can also be much simpler than that. It sounds quite big to surrender to God, surrender to awareness. Whoa, surrender to consciousness. And it is. But remember that you can surrender to this moment right now. You can surrender to a mundane moment, hoovering, washing dishes. You can give yourself over to that, without getting in the way of that. And when you're doing that, you're actually handing yourself over to awareness, God, consciousness, life, the universe. Because, let's not forget that the universe isn't something out there hidden. It is appearing right now as this moment, as the hoovering, as the sweeping up, as the cleaning up the cat poo. It is that. There's no separation whatsoever. So if you can surrender to that, where you've surrendered to everything. Surrender, 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 let go, let go, let go. What can you let go of today? What can you hand over? Okay. What can you say yes to?